We also want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Frank's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day and First Responders Appreciation Day. You can get your car and your personal car and your work vehicle cleaned for free. You just have to show ID.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that doesn't apply to me, but hopefully we can spread the word for people that could benefit from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, he does that every year. Isn't that nice?
That is great.
You know,
he's a good guy.
What a nice thing to have a clean car, right?
It is.
Yes. So here we are. Are you recording yourself over there on your?
No, I'm not. There's enough going on over here.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, let's talk about some of the things that are facing Greenwood City, what's happening. I think that would be the thing we need to concentrate on here today. You just had a meeting the other night, county city meeting, and how are the things in the city?
We're doing well. We're doing well. We're just coming off festival season. The month of June, of course, is the Chamber of Commerce puts on a festival of flowers, and so we have a lot of visitors in the month of June. Main weekend, first weekend in June is the main weekend. In July, we have, of course, our barbecue festival, which is our main attraction every year. We have people from all over that enjoy the biggest stop on the Kansas City Barbecue Society tour, and the blues, of course. Gary Irwin, who we gave the Order of the Palmetto to,
that was nice.
It wasn't that great. Nice. It felt like it was a homecoming for him. But
25 years.
25 years. Yeah. 25 years. It's not the 25th anniversary, but 25 years because, of course, we had a COVID year in there. But Gary's done a great job with the budget we give him. We've got headliners now. The last 3 years we've had headliners, which has really kind of been my passion. 2 years ago, we had Jimmy Hall from Wet Willie. Last year, we had Tinsley Ellis, and this year we had Shamika Copeland, who's dad's the legendary Johnny Copeland, has a show on Sirius Radio, and we're really able to keep the crowds engaged and engaged in the productive crowd through Saturday night. So it's been great. But you ask what we're up to the city, that's certainly what we're up to uptown. But
I tell you what, the Vintage Vixens from Atlanta that came. Did you see the amount of people and those vintage people that were out there for that show?
I was unable to make it. I can't remember where I had to be. I can't clone myself and be everywhere, but I heard it was. What was it? Tell me about the crowd.
It was great. I did a lot of videos.
You
people
did.
were dancing.
I watched your videos.
Yeah, it was great.
That was great.
So, and some people were really in the spirit with the dress and the tie-dye and everything. But I give kudos to the city for doing something for the vintage people.
Well, that's a regular theme. I mean, whether it's the medallions or we also actually next month, September 24th, and you need to really start getting the word out now. We've got Zoso, the Led Zeppelin tribute band, coming, which was a tribute band when I was in college, and so that's really kind of we try to have a tribute type band in the spring and in the fall, and then an original semi name brand band also in the spring and the fall. We try not to compete and have the same tribute bands that the Abbeville Opera House has, because they have a tremendous lineup of tribute bands over there, whether it's Grateful Dead or whatever. But we've had Allman Brothers, we've had Led Zeppelin, hoping maybe in the spring to have a Prince tribute band, which would be exciting.
That would be.
That's got to be a special. You can't just, we had Tom Petty tribute band back in the spring, so
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
But we've of course we've got a number of other things besides just our events that are that bring in tourists that are, largely funded by accommodations tax and hospitality tax dollars that have to be used on that. I would love to be able to take the handcuffs off and be able to use accommodations and hospitality tax dollars in the ways that other larger municipalities can. And I'm fortunate to have a seat at the table. I just got back from Columbia. I'm the recently installed as the vice president of the municipal association, so I've got a seat.
So what does that mean?
So it means I've got a seat at the table. I've been on the board of the municipal association before, but was asked to come back on and recently made vice president. Basically, and I'm also the vice president of the Upper Savannah Council of Governments, to be able to have a seat at the table to represent our cities and towns in Columbia. There's always kind of this wave of push and pull between our legislature and what they want to control. We certainly are biased, but we believe that local government's in the best space to be able to dictate what happens locally.
Right.
But having said that, we work well with our legislative delegation and our legislators to be able to bring things to Greenwood that Greenwood deserves.
Sure.
I'm sure you're following along the earmark debate that's back and forth.
$380 million just in the trash, in hold right now. Yes.
In hold.
I think that'll be interesting to watch. They're talking about not bringing that in till the 2027 budget.
Just like I said, just left this meeting in Columbia, talked to some other folks, and it's still very fluid. Very fluid situation right now, and I'm optimistic that we're going to have at least partial funding for a project that'll benefit Greenwood.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. We got the governor's red pen, and we got the legislature that can't seem to get their act together. So it's a great combo.
Great combo. Great combo. All the posturing that goes on. I'm grateful for the people that sign up to do that, because this is where I'm called to be. I don't know that I could handle that in Columbia or Washington, certainly.
There was talk about doing a budget every 2 years. I thought that was an interesting idea, provided they didn't wait till the last 3 months of the second year to do the budget. But that might allow them the opportunity to work through it. Yeah,
at least come up for air rather than have to do that every year. But I don't know what the best solution to that is, but
anyways, there's a lot more things going on here. Now, you were telling me you're getting ready to do something after work here today. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm inspired because I have this started years ago, because I can't say I have 3 teenagers anymore because my oldest is 20 now, but I've got 3 boys, 2 teenagers and a 20-year-old, and recognizing our youth has really been and connecting with our youth is really a huge priority of mine, probably the biggest priority. But kicking off our high school football season is going to be really exciting. So I've got Greenwood High and Emerald bands and cheerleaders coming to my house to kick off the season, because I want to showcase. I love having sports teams over to the house and interview our youth that maybe have never been through an interview before. I love that. But I also want to show that there's so much more that goes into the Friday night atmosphere than just the football players and the coaches. There's the cheerleaders, the band, the managers, the fans, the volunteers that all represent Greenwood and Emerald and Greenwood Christian. We had our first Mayor's Game Ball presentation last night.
Right.
I had Isaiah Scott Palacios, I think is how you pronounce his last name, from Greenwood Christian. Super young man that had a big game and a loss for Greenwood Christian on Friday night. So we'll see who will win it. But we had a Greenwood band and Emerald bands and Greenwood cheerleaders and Emerald cheerleaders attended the grand reopening of the quote old Walmart a couple years ago. So we're going to kind of do similar to what we did with that a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I'm excited, but recognizing our youth is and connect. That's just one part. You know, interviewing our athletes without their helmets on and off the field or court is a big thing. But our Mayor's Youth Council kicks off. We've got a huge Mayor's Youth Council.
If I understand it correctly, I think you opened it up some, didn't you?
Well, we actually had reduced because we had been open to, when I first started this thing, those poor kids were guinea pigs. It was open to I want to say 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Right now it's just 11th and 12th graders. And we've got a huge class that applied. And I read all those applications and super interested in all the ideas that our youth have. And if you recall, about 9 or 10 months ago, we had our Mayor's Youth Council leadership in here. Mm-hmm. Our president, vice president, and treasurer were in here. We'll have to do that again in the next few months if you've ever got the time.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. If you recall the objectives of the Greenwood Mayor's Youth Council, I didn't invent the idea of a Mayor's Youth Council. This was brought to me, and there are probably a couple hundred Mayor's Youth Councils across the country, but ours is uniquely formulated for Greenwood's needs. So one, it's to be able to obtain youth ideas on issues facing Greenwood. As I've said before, you and I and a lot of people my age and older, we at least remember a time before these. Right? These kids that are 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, they don't remember a time before these. And so they
were born with them in their hands, weren't they?
And I mean, seriously, besides the Industrial Revolution, I think this generation is going through more changes than any generation in history. And so when we
not only that, they went through COVID. And there were a lot of things that we didn't realize were actually issues for them.
You're right. And so they have unique challenges and pressures that we don't understand. So I've been in these violent crime task forces before, and I look around the room, and this is 6 years ago, and I'm in my early 40s, and I realize I'm the youngest person in the room, and we're talking about what crime that's statistically committed between 17 and 28-year-old young males. Mm-hmm. And while I was once that age, I'm reminded
you've aged out
on a daily basis that I do not identify with that generation. So we're glad to be able to obtain their input on issues that face our community. Number two is obtain ideas from them in ways that we can retain our productive young adults. Emphasis on productive.
Well, there's just a new program that's getting ready to kick off here.
Which one are you talking about?
With the Anthony Price and the new and all the nonprofits coming together to help provide services that many may not know are available.
That's right. I'm super grateful for Anthony and his energy, because he's exactly right. We've got to we make attempts, but we've got to make sure everybody's talking to each other. Everybody knows if there's an issue that arises that this nonprofit, it's not in their wheelhouse, how they can connect with other nonprofits, and how one of Anthony's big things is childhood trauma and how we unpack that childhood trauma. Sure. And there are resources available. We've just got to connect people with those resources. So I'm very grateful for Anthony's efforts to lead the charge in that regard.
Sure. Let's go back to the Youth Council.
Sure.
Now, are you getting up? Are you still doing this early in the morning?
So we have orientation tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. and I'm going to let them know that our meeting next month, and if it's during in service or into 9 weeks breaks, we'll do it at a reasonable time. But I'm going to let them know, look, this is when we do it. Our regular meetings are at 6:30 a.m. If you cannot commit to that, I completely understand, but we need people to commit to signing up to be there at 6:30 a.m. If you recall when I told you that last year, we had by far the best attendance we've ever had at 6:30 a.m. because I'm amazed. None of them have any excuses why they can't be there.
Right.
And for our Mayor's Youth Council members, a lot of them are high-performing students. They have extracurricular activities, whether it's sports, art, music, theater, whatever, and they've got commitments. And so out of 25 kids, we may have 8 show up. And that's just, it wasn't working out.
Right.
And we weren't really making the impact. So 6:30 a.m. to 8, nobody has any excuses not to be there other than, look, it's not easy for me to get there bright and early with a smile on my face. My wife is a morning person, and she rolls out of bed and just gets right after it. So this isn't easy for me either. It's a commitment, but it's a pleasure to be able to connect with these kids because we've got amazing youth in our community. My middle son, he just started class at Clemson today. He was in it the last 2 years. And my older son, when he was going, he said, I'm not going to do it because I hear you talk about this stuff at the kitchen table every night. I don't need to sit through the Mayor's Youth Council. My youngest, hopefully he'll be part of it. But anyway, we've got an opportunity to really touch these kids and understand their perspectives. So the third objective of it is to serve as a youth leadership Greenwood type program.
Well, let me ask you something, because this is very interesting. You've been doing this for how many years now?
This is the 5th year.
5th year. Now, what has been your takeaway for the community? Because I know that was one of the things, was to try to figure out how to keep young people here in Greenwood. So what are some of the takeaways that you've gotten from this?
Well, there's and I try to tell them, look, we're looking for realistic ways. The number 2 objective, realistic ways to retain our productive young adults. If it involves building an amusement park in town, some Disney World light or something.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, great in theory, but that it costs money.
Right.
So if that's the only way to retain this specific young adult, we'll just have to say, look,
see you later.
Please come back and visit when you can. And so I think it's been opening their eyes to, hey, we don't own the businesses that come in here.
Right.
Yeah, we'd love to open Texas Roadhouse and or
Olive
Gardens, the Targets and the Home Depots. What we do try to control is to be hospitable and create an environment where they can come and thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Greenwood is so unique because it's the hub, and I try to tell people this, and I tell the youth this. It's the city of Greenwood, of course, is the county seat of Greenwood County, which is the hub of a 7-county area. But we're very unique in that we're the hub of a 7-county area where there's no interstate close to us, and there's no larger metropolitan area within the larger metropolitan area is hour plus
right.
away. So Anniston, Alabama is really kind of the closest comparison you can make, but we're unique. So, you have Old Navy come here, then they leave, then they come back. I'm been repeatedly told by Jim Medford and some others that Publix shouldn't even exist here on paper, but they come here and they see our community, and the Publix is thriving, right?
Right.
That they've been here for many years. So it's unique. You can't really fit Greenwood into a box. The metrics that a lot of these big box stores, use, you can't really put Greenwood into a box. Now, having said that, shop local. I want to support local whenever we can. But I think there is a good mix between local owned and operated and the bigger box stores that employ local folks. But
and then it's sad to have like Whataburger not make it.
Which, wasn't technically in the city, but it does blow my mind that that's the busiest intersection in a 45-mile radius. And I do think there's part of it, Whataburgers across the state and the South are closing. I think there was one on Woodruff Road that just recently closed.
Really?
So you can't tell me it's, it's not because people aren't
Right.
driving by. But, and again, it's not in the city. And we could get into,
Oh, come on, Brandon. It's right there.
It's right there, but we could get into, how the city limits are
very
have been
screwy,
drawn
very screwy
over the years. But I do hate to see that.
I hate to see any business close.
I do too. And I don't know that storage. We've got a lot of great storage places. I don't know that that's the best use for that property, but again, it's not in the city, and it's not for me to decide. But whatever goes there, I hope will be successful, and we'll have hospitable neighbors, and we'll be successful because what's good for the county.
Well, we
is good
are
for the
getting
city.
a Dunkin' Donut.
We're getting a Dunkin' Donuts.
That's there was a Dunkin' Donut here years ago. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. Where was that?
Where Granny Hittens is in that shopping center right there.
Was that Dunkin'?
That was Dunkin' Donuts there.
Okay.
And nobody wanted to get up and make the donuts.
Right.
It was great for a few months, and then I think the families that had done this said, they didn't have anybody that wanted to get up and make the donuts.
Well, hopefully, I don't know who the families were. Hopefully,
Right.
I won't call it laziness or whatever, because maybe not everybody's a morning person.
Right,
I just
exactly.
detailed that, but hopefully that won't be an excuse, because we do have lots of morning people.
That's right.
Out there. But just to get back to your question, what we've realized is, and with our youth council, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of higher performing students on the Mayor's Youth Council. But what I've asked guidance counselors and principals and assistant principals and leaders in our community is to please connect me with our youth that want to make a difference but may feel like they slip through the cracks or may feel like their voices aren't heard. And this is something I've talked with Mamie Nicholson about. Those are all, we want a good mix of the high SAT, high GPA kids, but we also want the kids that, may not be off the charts with GPAs and SAT scores,
Sure.
but are leaders and do have something to offer, have a voice to offer, because we've got a lot of outstanding kids. And so, we do very discreet but live polling to understand, and we've understand these kids who has grown up without positive male and female role models, who has seen gun violence, who has seen the gang culture. And I was surprised at the number of kids that have seen the gang violence and the gun culture in our community, kids that you wouldn't have thought,
Right.
And I've got, I've told you, I've got 3 boys, and they don't always tell me what's going on in the schools. And 30 years ago, I didn't tell my parents.
So you understand that.
Well, I do.
Yes.
I do. And so it's been eye-opening, but it's also been great to connect them with volunteer opportunities. They've got requirements for monthly volunteer hours. They're also required to attend city council and county council meetings, just one of each. So I want them to be able to come in and tell me, if you live in the city, who's your ward representative. All of them are going to live in the county. Mm-hmm. So who represents you on county council? Who's our legislative delegation? I want them to be able to tell me that, because as much as I was interested in government and politics when I was a kid, I don't know that I would have had the answers to a lot of those questions. I told you the story about wanting to be mayor when I was in the 5th grade, but I didn't even live in the city limits at that time. So
when you went to buy a house, you said, "I'm sorry, we got to be in the city because
I didn't-
eventually I'm going to be the mayor."
well, 13 plus years ago, when we moved into the city, that was not the reason we bought a house in the city.
I'll talk to Tara to see if it's true.
you can ask her. We're very fortunate to live in the heart of the city, where and be able to get around to everywhere. Unless we need super specialty care, we've got an amazing health center less than 2 miles from our house.
Right.
I had 10 inches of my colon removed 2 years ago and didn't have to travel more than 2 miles from my house. My wife has had 2 back surgeries. Didn't have, unless it's like specialty neonatal care or burn care or specialty cardio care. I mean, that's why Greenwood is attractive.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
why the growth is coming to Greenwood. I mean, we'd be crazy to think that the growth in the Piedmont area between Charlotte and Atlanta is not drifting south. We're certainly want to retain the unique culture that makes Greenwood so special, but we're trying to, especially from a city standpoint, and I know the county also.
Well, I know that's why, actually, isn't it? Why you took that pause
It
on
is.
Building housing?
It is.
Yes.
I thought it was necessary.
Right.
And so we've certainly learned some lessons. We've learned some state agencies that we can rely on. We've learned some that are doing their best but don't really have teeth in enforcement. And oftentimes we understand those struggles, but we've had some other requests come up and say, look, until we can guarantee that there are minimal impacts on downstream property owners, whether they're in the city or the county, we cannot approve certain zoning classifications until we have those reassurances, which we're just not there. We're at a point from a city standpoint where we're close to being able to be a MS4 and control certain planning and stormwater processes, but that's and I think we'll be there soon enough, but that takes funding too, and it's always a challenge in
Well, you were discussing something about stormwater the other night, weren't you?
We were. That's really the only utility that the city of Greenwood controls. CPW, of course, controls water and power. Metro controls the sewer. So stormwater is, yes, but the type of planning that DES currently controls, we've got to hit this magic number for us to be automatically an MS4, and I think we will be. The 2020 census, I don't believe it for a minute, and if the 2030 census shows that we are stagnant or have gone down, we're going to have no choice but to appeal that, because what it would do is bring in additional federal resources to help us directly control those issues. And
so what do you mean? What does that mean? For the folks that don't understand
sure. So
what you're talking about.
downstream, be able to control the process when we have developers that come in and the effects from development
Building.
potentially affect downstream. We locally want to be able to control the process and say, you've got to do X, Y, and Z so that you don't affect. Right now we can put it into an NPR or a plan, some type of planning, and we can control it from that standpoint. But if it's just a rezoning, then we really don't have we have to rely on DHEC, now DES, to enforce the measures on developers. So that there's not, look, anytime there's something that affects impervious groundwater, there's going to be some minimal effect. If you see a pond in South Carolina, at some point that pond was dammed up and there were impacts from that pond being built on downstream. But what you want to do is minimize those impacts as much as possible, because we got a lot of great property owners that don't deserve to be affected. But again, as you mentioned, we from a city standpoint, we we are certainly doing everything we can to get out in front of the growth that we know is coming. We've got, as we've mentioned before, that this influx and influx in and exodus out on a daily basis. We'd love to, have more people working and living in Greenwood, and that's the goal, is to retain the people that are working here, so they don't choose to live it's Simpsonville.
Right.
And
I knew you were going to say Simpsonville.
I was just with the mayor of Simpsonville earlier, and I told him I don't mean to pick on you if your ears are burning. And Simpsonville, I think, has seen their growing pains too. We don't want to be just like them either.
That's true. That's true. Now, what about the Toros field down there? There's a lot of work going on down there.
A lot of
turned
work
into be a lot more work.
It did, and that's dealing with aging underground infrastructure. Every time we opened something else up, we found something else that needed to be addressed. I think we're optimistic that here in the fall we can reside and have that. And I think we've got the adjoining property across the street, the greenhouses, that we're going to address some issues over there too. But I mean, we're talking about 100-plus-year-old underground piping that has failed and has resulted in sinkholes. A lot of it's interconnected from the old Greenwood Village to the Toros Fields, old Greenwood High football field right there, all that area. So we call it the Toros Fields. I mean, it's right. City of Greenwood owned property, and the Toros have a lease on it, but it's public property, and we hope to be able to open portions of it at time, to people in that neighborhood also.
Well, now, what happened with the closing off Cambridge yesterday with the water? Did they have a water main?
I don't know what the end result of that was.
I heard a water main. I think a water main or something.
Yeah, I was in Greenville yesterday. I need to learn more exactly what happened. That was a DOT issue,
right?
But of course it affected our residents. So I need to be briefed on that for sure.
Now, how about the park, though? Gray Street Park, hasn't that been an amazing development?
It really has.
You can tell how hot it is, though, because people have not been out there in the days because it's been so hot this summer. But any other time, It is just packed over there.
It is. And there's still people that come out there, but you're exactly right.
Yes.
These feels like 110-degree days.
Right.
Yeah, you do see the numbers dwindle a little bit. I don't know. I'm kind of more natured where I don't mind those days. I don't like the frigid temperatures. Jason Arnold and I talk about that a lot. We'd rather see it hot like this. That doesn't
but how are we doing on the snow machine then for this year?
That's an idea we've thrown out there.
Yeah, I know.
If we can, I think you were the
I brought
idea
that
behind
up.
that, weren't you?
Yeah.
If we can ensure that that doesn't tear up public property, I think that's a fantastic idea.
I think it'd be great.
But of course, our luck will buy that. And
we'll never have
snow.
Well, if not, the weather will not be cold enough.
Right.
The temperature or whatever won't be right. Yep.
But Gray Street Park has been amazing to see. I really did think the newness of that would wear off, but it is not at all.
No.
And one thing I've enjoyed seeing is these. I tell you what, I didn't know the skateboard culture that we had either.
Right.
And I talk to them all the time. I'm fascinated. We've got like experienced skateboarders, like super experienced skateboarders out there helping these kids that are, their parents have them with every elbow pad and knee pad and helmet imaginable, but helping them learn how to skate. And it's been fantastic to watch old and new relate there. The pickleball courts, the playground, the pump track, the connection between the phase 2 and the existing phase 1 is amazing. I walk it regularly and I'm like, man, I'm in the middle of the city here.
Right.
I'm in the smack dab in 53 acres in the middle of the city. And it's like, it's nature. It's at its finest. And the dog park, the pond, it's just been great to see the connection between the two.
Is there a phase 3 or 4 coming?
We'll see. I mean, I think there may be phase 2.1, 2A or 2B, I guess, at some point, potentially expanding in the footstep. But we'll see. I don't know what's in store for phase 3. We'll just have to see.
All right. Well, one of the things that you wanted to talk about was litter and litter cleanup. And what are we doing about these mattresses and sofas and all this crap sitting out on the side of the roads?
Oh my gosh. It drives me crazy. Let me start by saying we've got a lot of people who have a lot of great energy to clean stuff up. We're grateful. We're grateful for anyone whose positive output exceeds their negative influence.
Right.
All right. But we're also grateful for anybody who's I go everywhere around this state, and this trash issue that we have is not unique to Greenwood. But one thing I can tell you for certain is that we've got more energy to clean up Greenwood to clean up our municipality than I see anywhere else. And maybe I'm just biased. Maybe I'm looking at it with rose-colored glasses. But what you've got to figure out is what is a core function of government. Is picking up mattresses and tires a core function of government? I would contend it's not. I know there's debate on, what are some folks that aren't able to do it? What are they going to do? I mean, there are folks that live in the county that don't have that they don't have mattresses and tires and toilets picked up, and so I do believe, again, if you're looking for government to solve all your problems, you're going to be sorely disappointed. That's that's a core conservative principle, right?
Sure.
So I know we've got a lot of volunteers and a lot of nonprofit efforts that can help us. And when you change what can and can't be picked up, compliance and education takes a period. I mean, look, I would love to get to where we're picking up trash and some other larger, specified articles and yard waste. Because I really think that's what the core function of government is. And if there's elderly people that need, construction or debris that they've worked on, or mattresses and box springs, I'd love to be able to connect them with folks in our community, because we do have a lot of great folks that are out there and energies out there to pick those up. But yes, it drives me crazy driving around, because we'll pick up, and we've got a litter pickup on August 22nd. That's this Saturday at Laurel Baptist Church at 9 a.m. That's a Ward 4 pickup. That's one of the nearly 100 litter pickups we've done in the last 8 years. And that's just one of the organized litter pickups that my wife, Tara, has done with Trash Time with Tara. And that's not to brag and say, hey, look at us, but it's to inspire. We've had the Litter Warriors keep Greenwood County beautiful with regular pickups, county pickups, all those.
Even your youth council.
Our mayor's youth council. Right? That has been. We'll confirm next week that. We'll see if they want to renew their annual project being monthly litter pickups with large groups. We'll see if they vote, because I'm trying to give them ownership of their leadership and what their volunteer opportunities look like. We'll see. And Lander, I want to make sure to mention the Lander athletes. The spring athletes help us in the fall, and the fall athletes help us in the spring. Their energies have been amazing. The Greenwood High and Emerald athletes have shown up. Hoot and his young men and women from Next Level Fitness and Lifestyles have been great. And so our Mayor's Youth Council is huge this year. We'll see if that, but again, it's to inspire. We're fortunate that a lot of our efforts helped inspire the hiring of a city county litter coordinator, who I think her Amber Napier, her job is sometimes misunderstood, that she's supposed to be out there like she's on the chain gang from 9 to 5 every day picking up.
Right.
That's not where she can have the biggest impact. She does pick up a lot, but she also is to coordinate organized efforts, and all these organized efforts are intended to inspire people in their radius to pick up around their homes, around their communities, because wherever I go, wherever you can name, whatever street in Greenwood is historically a trouble spot with litter or compliance, wherever you name, there are people in that community that do take pride in their homes.
Yes.
And they need the help. Sometimes they feel trapped. And those are the people that tug at my heartstrings, because those are the people that we're trying to help out with these litter efforts.
Now, but how much does the appearance of a community matter when we're trying to attract businesses, visitors, and new residents?
It can't be underscored. It really can't be underscored. We've got businesses that are going to come regardless, okay? But when it comes down to on the margins of really what makes a city special, or whether businesses are coming to town or businesses are trying to recruit, whether the hospital's trying to recruit, a specialty doctor, or whether Wesley Commons is trying to make Greenwood attractive for folks coming from outside of Greenwood. We don't want them to have to take certain roads because other roads are not attractive. We'll
avoid that road, and it'll take us a half hour longer, but we will go through the better sections of town. Yeah.
And we've got great nonprofits. I met with David Buckshorn and Wesley Commons the other day about this issue and some other issues. We want to continue to make Greenwood attractive, but it really can't be underscored. The direct correlation between cleaning up and improved quality of life and just the old hope, period.
Right.
It is. I've said this before. I'm embarrassed to tell you how old I was when I came to fully appreciate that direct correlation, but I get it now. And it was something that started before I ran for mayor, and it was really one of the things that made me run for mayor in 2018 is this. I went to a Palmetto Pride seminar, and it was like, was I just getting older and crankier when I see trash, or it's like the light went off in my head? Yeah, there's not trash around where I live, but there are people in every neighborhood who take pride in their homes where they do see trash and they do want the help.
Exactly.
And sometimes they feel powerless, and those are the ones that we're out there trying to help. Now look, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that these efforts, these 100 plus litter cleanups that Trash Time with my wife has been involved in, those are just one of several other 100 cleanups that Walt Willard and dedicated litter warriors, Keep Greenwood County Beautiful, our county districts have coordinated. But it's had such a far-reaching impact. And I'll tell you, look, you can show me an area right now. We got a lot of work to do, but I can tell you we've made a dent in it. But at the same time, until we break that cycle, until we educate our youth not to do what they may see their parents, grandparents, guardians, whatever do, whether that's not covering the back of their trucks and stuff flying out the back of the trucks, or literally just rolling a window down and throwing a Hardee's bag or Bojangles, but whatever, out. Until we break that cycle, we are somewhat still hamsters on a wheel, because and look, I'm the most impatient person ever. Progress, so it frustrates me because sometimes we can clean up, say, Mathis Road, and 3 weeks later we see stuff back out there. Mathis Road is kind of a unique example because it's not a safe area to clean because the shoulders are so narrow.
Right.
So it's difficult to get in there and clean that up. But it breaks my heart to see areas that we've cleaned up 3 weeks later have trash back out there again. So that's why I talk about breaking that cycle.
Right. Well, one of the other things you wanted to talk about was the capital projects, that we have, the penny sales tax
Right.
as it is. Now, Discover Greenwood just opened.
Right. Have you been?
No, I have not. I have not been there.
Come join Kelly McWhorter and team over there. It is a city-owned property that, if we're going to tell people to repurpose or encourage people to repurpose their buildings, we needed to do the same. So it was a city-owned building that the old Pals building
Right.
is what we call it, but it had been stripped of virtually everything. We're talking HVAC, piping, electrical, everything had been stripped. I don't know the history of how it got that way, but it had
Right.
been before we came to own it. And so it's a fantastic location right as you come into the heart of Uptown. I mean, Hampton Plaza there is in Uptown, but as you come in, whether you're coming from the north side or you're coming from the east side, and you dead end right there, it's a great building to be able to showcase all that Greenwood and Greenwood County have to offer. So I was there on Saturday. It still has the new Welcome Center smell.
The new smell,
in
yeah.
there. But please, I encourage anybody to come by. Check that out. Walk next door to the museum. Check out the history that you can find in the museum. Wander over to the theater, see what productions Stephen Gilbert and crew have going on over there. Wander on over to the Arts Center, see what amazing arts projects and displays that are going on over there. It just really fits that core city center just feel to showcase everything we've got going on.
Well, a year from now, if we're driving around here in Greenwood, is there going to be any changes based on the capital project sales tax?
There'll be some changes. There's not going to be like these, super sexy changes that you see. The facelift to Greenwood Fire Station 1 is much needed. That's a mid-century modern building, what we call that. I'm kind of nostalgic for that type
I was
of
going to say,
architecture.
mid-century.
I kind of like it,
right?
But it definitely needs an upgrade. That's one of the projects from the 2024 capital project sales tax. Inside, we've got female firefighters, which we didn't have in the 60s, and they need their own spaces because you've got firefighters that sleep there too, and so we need proper spaces for men and women, and just an upgrade to bring us into the 21st century. Our city shops likewise were built mid-century and are absolutely in need of an upgrade. We're talking about behind the Toros fields, the old Greenwood High football fields back there. Again, when I say these aren't sexy, they're a lot of these things you may not see.
You not see them, right?
But they're absolutely necessary to bring to provide the services that Greenwood deserves, and a lot of that's behind the scenes.
Right.
We already mentioned the phase 2 of Gray Street Park. That was part of the 2016 capital project sales tax, and you've also parks was a big thing from the 2016 capital project sales tax. And while I wasn't an elected official at that time, I have been able to really kind of give a lot of buy-in on what, feedback on what we want to see in terms of those parks projects. So to bring recreation at Foundry Road to the south end of Greenwood is something that has been missing for a long time. And, perhaps that footprint from the Matthews Mill Village, a very proud historic community, can continue to expand. Magnolia Park, which was one of the first Parks and Trails Foundations, a completely separate nonprofit that Billy Nicholson and his dedicated crew are spearheaded in the mid 90s or early 90s. But give a facelift to that park, just a few blocks off the east side of Main Street, was absolutely necessary. So yes, discover Greenwood. You'll definitely see Fire Station number 1 on South Main will look like it's a 21st century building, same footprint,
So
But,
what do you want? So what do you want people to remember about Greenwood? I mean, this is you're in your 8th year, right,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
mayor, and you've signed up to run again for mayor. But what would you like people to take away from our conversation today?
the people, the people that make up Greenwood and have made up Greenwood since 1856. Mm-hmm. Reincorporated by the state constitution in 1897.
Right.
I believe I got those dates right. But the people have made Greenwood special. As I mentioned before, we don't have an interstate with anywhere close to here. And I think people in the 50s may have really been frustrated that we weren't on the Eisenhower interstate system. But right now, where we sit, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Especially now, when I was a kid, the highway 25 to Greenville was 2 lanes.
Right.
Of course, 4 lanes. Now with a large median, it's easy to get wherever you. Highway 72, 221 to go into Lawrence County,
Right.
and then of course the going into Abbeville County and into Calhoun Falls connect us with Georgia. We industry is easily able to ship and get in here, and the railroads, of course, are what made us.
Well, just look at the 96, the Amazon
Right.
final mile
Right.
facility going in there. I mean, that's going to make a big difference
Right.
too.
But it is the people, it is our unique, sometimes quirky, culture that we have here. It can't be replicated anywhere else. It's been, besides the honor of being a husband and a father, it's been the biggest honor of my life. It's been something I've always wanted to do. I don't have any aspirations to do anything else. This is where I'm drawn to be. We welcome all the folks that want to be part of the solution, part of the progress in Greenwood. We welcome the ideas. I talk to a lot of mayors, and I'm always sometimes I get inspired and refreshed. Even the folks that are frustrated, I'm reminded it's an opportunity to meet with the people and understand their concerns. It may not be something, or it may be something I want to help them with.
Right.
But, understanding we have limited resources, but I want to be able to connect them with any resources that can help with an issue. So, yeah, any time we have the opportunity to engage, I would love it all to be constructive, feedback. If it's, hey, I've got this issue, I'd love for it, to be constructive. But even the non-constructive issues, I feel like it's an opportunity to understand these issues and unpack what makes people frustrated with a situation. We've got, I think most of the people that are just head over heels in love with Greenwood don't always voice it as much as the folks that I will say the much smaller but vocal contingent like to spout off. But again, that's the world we live in. I believe social media.
Is that the keyboard warriors you're talking about?
Look,
someone?
I believe social media is a great way to connect with high school classmates and get the word out. I do believe it's gotten very toxic. If you're looking for a mayor to get into hourly toxic social media drama, I'm not your guy. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. I'm not your guy. But I do believe, and I don't think it's the best forum to engage necessarily in back, but connect with me, reach out to our city, and our city staff. We've got an amazing city management staff, and we're always looking to do better. We're a department just like any other institution. We're run by human beings. We're going to have flaws here from time to time. We want to continue to make our city staff reflect and be diverse like the community they serve, whether that's public safety or administration, and we take that very seriously.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just was curious because we are, believe it or not, Brandon, it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. I got to run to my house. I don't want to be the last person to my house when everybody gets there.
But anyways, speaking of that, WCRS, just FYI, was started 85 years ago on September 1st.
Wow.
And it was a group of engaged men, I think, basically, that said, we need a radio station. And that really set Greenwood apart at that time to have a radio station in 1941.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's a lot more to the story, but
so
I just wanted to...
they only knew that 3 months later, on December 7th, 1941, we'd be plunged into World War II. What a time to open a radio station.
And, well, actually, it was from the standpoint of keeping news and everything flowing this way. But the thing that happened was all the engineers were called up for the war effort, and that left the women to run the station. So isn't that interesting?
That's
that
fantastic.
here today, a woman runs and owns this station.
And that was long before you were
exactly
even an idea in this world.
Right, exactly.
And, yeah, that's fantastic. I look forward to celebrating on September 1st, your 85th anniversary. It will undoubtedly be after I'm mayor when the 100th anniversary, but I'll look forward to showing up when I'm 62 years old.
Oh my God. Oh, what a babe. What a babe. Anyways, Mayor Brandon Smith, thanks so much for coming out. Anything else you'd like to say in closing?
No, Ann, I just appreciate it. I look forward to a great 2026-2027 Mayor's Youth Council year. Please, if you can, join us on Saturday at Laurel Baptist Church at 9 a.m. to help with the litter cleanup. We'd love to have you. But if you can't come, it doesn't have to be part of an organized litter cleanup. Pick up around your area.
I'm amazed how many people, just to say this, just go out and you'll see one single person picking up trash. Who's the gentleman that does it on Cambridge, past the country club there, and cleans up?
Well,
he does.
What's his name? Dees. Mr. Dees. He doesn't just pick up trash. He does landscaping.
Right.
Craig Stuckey is dedicated to Mathis Road, especially South Mathis Road. He's getting a little. I get a little concerned about him. I don't know how old he is, but getting on the other side of Mathis Road, you're in deep ditches. I don't want to see him hurt himself, but you got people like him. Bill Tinsley, who's picked up trash without any fanfare around Connie Maxwell for decades.
Right.
Walt, Willard, that whole crew. I mean, it goes on and on. There's a bunch of folks in the Wisewood community on East Cambridge. I mean, we got the energy. It's all about connecting them, and I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm excited to continue the process.
Well, that sounds great. Progress.
Yes.
That's right. Brandon, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it.
I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. I don't think I was on camera at all today, and that's okay. Here's a shot of Ann right here. Hello. Here's a shot of Penny. Yes, here she is. We're going to say goodnight, everybody. We'll be back in the morning. Take it away. This is WCRS Radio right here in Greenwood, South Carolina. Bye-bye, everybody. And that's a wrap.